Yo, it's your boy Timothy Glean, and I'm coming at you with another one of these YouTube videos. Just a blessing to be here today. You know, before the sun goes down, I just want to record a video before I continue my night and making dinner and all that other good stuff. But it's been a lot of hard work, and I've been putting in a lot of time doing what I need to do, you know, just for my household, for my family, and making sure everything is very much in order. But I want to talk to y'all about something specific today, to kind of piggyback off that last topic that we were just talking about. Just going through these notes, it's just we need helpmeets. And one thing that having helpmeets lead to is raising our children. And I do feel like it's an issue in the society now where we allow everybody to raise our children but us raising our own children. Think about the life of a child, like just on average, you know, you send them to school, like you work, or two-parent homes that work, you send your children to school, and then you send them to a daycare, then you send them to maybe sports programs and dance programs, and you send them to all these places all week just to get one day a week with them, you know, and some parents even work weekend days, or some, like, ultimately, I understand, you know, how society is set up, and it may be proper to have your child in public school while you work, but I feel like some people are working just to have more money, and, you know, that's at the expense of your children, you know. And it's a slight testimony of mine, but when I decided to homeschool my children, I had so much pressure from so many different people saying that I wasn't qualified to teach my own children. I made the case that I'm actually more qualified than them because they don't love my children the way that I love them. They don't really know my children the way that I know them. And because of that, you know, I'm not going to throw them all in one big old giant group and expect them all to learn the same. There's differences. For instance, my son, he can't read at the level that people say he should on average, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be able to know how to read. Or my oldest, you know, she's not able to speak, you know, the clearest as many people her age would speak. And my youngest, she may have motor skill issues that isn't up to par with others her age, but, you know, there's gifts, you know. For example, my youngest, she has an advancement in her mind that some her age don't understand. Or my son, he logically thinks and can figure things out in a way that even children don't. My oldest daughter, she's filled with the Holy Spirit and is guided in a way where most grown-ups isn't guided, and she's an 8-year-old. So there's aspects of my children that I can see and that we can exploit because they're being homeschooled. There's so much against homeschool, so many stigmas, and I'm looking at myself like I went to school and I feel like my life was worse because I went to school. Especially when you're growing up poor, having Payless sneakers or like thrift store clothes, and you're going into an environment where people have name brand stuff and people having everything that they need. Hey, Ed. Hey. And you have people that has everything that, you know, they could want, need, and everything, and you're struggling, your parents struggling to make ends meet, but honest people that want to raise you with good morals and standards and principles, and you go into an environment where people not raised on that, and they start to treat you different because of that. And I feel like I would rather have my children home with me and me teaching them the principles, morals, and values, and them not have any sort of shame towards living right, because this is a society now that will shame you for living right. They say they would call good bad and bad good. That's what will happen in these last days, and it's sad because it's very much true. You know, especially for those that are Christian, because there's so many things that are against Christians now. There's so many things that are against followers of the Messiah. You know, it's so much mocking going on with just this specific group of people. You know, there's so many perversions that are taught to children nowadays that are against the word of God, things that are against God's word, but it's being openly taught and put in the schools and put everywhere. And just, I'm just seeing the backlash over that Texas ruling of put the 10 Commandments in the schools, you know, and just like, now you get a taste of your own medicine with God's word. And it's just like, man, so you don't agree with this, but you agree with this. And it's just like, I don't know, I don't understand, but everything's not meant for me to understand. The biggest issue, once again, is that we're not raising our children. We're allowing everybody to raise them. If it's not that, then it's sitting your children down in front of a TV. I'm not doing any better. My children sit down in front of a TV right now while I'm recording this video. But I watched this movie on PureFlix, and I suggest it to anybody that's interested in homeschool. It's called Homeschool Awakening, and they dive deep into the stigmas of, or at least the dominant narrative of homeschool children, and dismantle them all. And you can see the results of people that are being homeschooled, children that are being homeschooled. And not to knock anybody that goes to public school. I went to public school, and I believe that I've become a wholesome person, in a sense, you know. And not saying wholesome people don't come out of public schools. I just think it's more easier for people to be individuals when they're homeschooled, when they're being educated at their homes, and when they're being raised at their homes, and not raised by society, not raised by the world, not raised by TV, not raised by culture. Society is spiraled out of control in the way that it has because we've allowed too much control of the government over our children, and not the parents taking control over the education, the rearing, and the discipline of our own children. And because of that, we lost the sense of nuclear families and family structure because we had generations grow up in this type of stuff. This is wrong. We got to be teaching our own children. We got to teach our children. My children wasn't learning stuff at school. My oldest, she was a special ed student. What is she doing in a charter school? Because of her great personality. My son, he wasn't even in the school. He was in an institution. School to prison pipeline institution. Literally, where I had to sign paperwork to put him in certain holds. That they'll be able to put him in certain holds to psychologically train him to be able to go to prison and be in them holds with the arm around it. They train you for that. Especially young brown boys. That's what my 2 children are going into. And then my youngest is just like, and she was about to 2 years be eligible for school, but before that I had to take them out of school. I had to homeschool when I got custody of them. We did it for like a half year, but that upcoming school year, I'm like, yo, nah. God told me to homeschool my children. Because I want to raise my children, because I know in school I ain't learned nothing. I ain't learned how to cash a check at school. I ain't learned how to write a check in school. I didn't learn how to have good credit, bank accounts. I ain't learned none of that in school. I ain't learned how to buy a house, to buy a car. I didn't know anything in school. I didn't know how to make a resume in school. I didn't learn that. And I probably did learn that in one of my classes that was probably really boring. Probably my career and finance class that I slept in every day because it was boring. It wasn't engaging. It was just me sitting down and listening. I couldn't do it. I didn't like lectures like that. It was boring. So maybe there was a lot, but that year I slept every class. And I was kind of got popular in my school because I slept in that career and finance class. So actually I probably did, but also, I went to one of the top high schools in my city, and I went for engineering, something that I'm not doing. Because my crappy guidance counselor told me I should choose to go to Hutch Tech because that's a top school, knowing that I'm a creative and could have went to performing arts. And with my intelligence and going to performing arts, I probably would have been valedictorian and probably would have had other scholarship opportunities that would put me in a better position than going to Hutch Tech and getting bad grades because I'm not feeling it. It had nothing to do with my intelligence and smarts, because I was a high honor roll student. But once I was unmotivated, nobody pushed me or anything like that. Like, and it even happened in the home, you know, where you're going to school and you're getting these good grades and you're doing it. Like, this is me. Nobody told me to get 99s and 98s and 97s and 96s and 95s and 94s. Nobody told me to get above a 90 average in any of my grades that I was getting and growing up. I just did it. And even when my grades started dropping on the mirror roll, I was capable of getting those 99s. I'm just like, I just started to lose care. Then I started to get 60s and 70s when I got into high school. Because I ain't care. Because these schools will push you to just go to a place and they won't see what's the best. Like, they don't see your gifts. These teachers, these schools, they don't know your gifts. They don't know your talents. They don't know what you're capable of. They don't know what God is calling you for. But I can tell you who do: the parents. And if you're a parent that is attentive to your children, you know exactly what they're capable of. And if you know exactly what they're capable of, and you're in a position where you're homeschooling them, you could start their on-the-job training right now. If you see what your children can do right now, you'll be doing it right now. Why do we have to wait to get a degree to do something? Why not have your children do it right now? Why not start a business with your child right now if they talented at something or capable of doing something, they have a great idea? Start a business with them. But when you go into regular school, you can't do that. I already knew why I homeschool my children. Another reason, because that type of stuff, it messed with my schedule and how I want to guide my family and lead my family. And if I want to own my businesses and run my businesses and do what I need to, and I'm a single parent, by the way, I have to homeschool them. Because the way the school timing is, it wouldn't fit. Like, what if I was in the middle doing something and, you know, like, maybe different if I was married to somebody or something. But regardless, my children ain't going to school. And if you're somebody that homeschools your children, you know, kudos to you, because it ain't easy. But it's way easier than allowing your child's life to be in the hands of people that you don't even know what they teaching your children. Some parents are fed up, but some parents don't care. Some parents just don't pay attention. They're putting stuff in your children. Like, they're putting stuff in their minds and in their hearts and in their spirits. And they're not even telling the parents what they're doing. They just doing it. These teachers are bold now. And there's an agenda. And this is not just a natural agenda of a certain movement trying to put stuff into your children. This is of the devil himself. And he's trying to place stuff in your children. This is the devil. This is attack. This is an attack, a spiritual attack on our children. The spiritual attack against our children is to push them into perversion. So when they grow up, they can raise their children even worse than what our generation is being taught right now. This is why I said prophetically, the generation of children we're raising right now will be the worst. I mean, the children that they have will be the worst group of humans that have ever existed. So how we raise our children means so much. Because if we're not raising our children right, they're going to raise the worst generation of humans that has ever existed in the existence of humanity. And we can go back into the nomadic times and go back into the caveman times, go back into whatever you think in your mind, or whatever you could picture in your mind or visualize in your mind. Like, humans never had a brain. You know, so I want you to understand what age and time that we're going through. You see what's happening on TikTok. You see it. These children all over TikTok now. It's sad. You know, I just released a video of me performing a rap song. Just a rap song. But I'm talking about some stuff in the rap song as a man of God, and I'm speaking against some things that's in this society. And nothing against the letter movement. I ain't say nothing against the letter movement and nothing. I'm talking about the Big Bang Theory being a lie. I'm talking about sin, you know, like, oh, is it raining? You know, there's many things that I'm talking about. And, oh, is that hail? Oh, that's hail. Oh, it's coming down. You know, it's not rain. I'll cover that up real quick. Yeah, that's hail. Oh yeah, there's so many things that you see on TikTok now. They took my, they silenced my video because of me pointing out sin. But they letting little girls be half naked on there and twerking. They're allowing pornographic stuff to be shown out there, or at least semi-borderline pornographic stuff to be put out there. They're allowing bloody, gory fights and violence. They're allowing violence up there. But when you talk about, and this is what your children has access to, and parents not even, they have women out here, they got links to porn sites. And children, all children have access to that. This was happening in our society. This is a technological age, and parents are allowing their children to just explore free because, oh, children need their privacy. No, the hell they don't. They don't need no privacy. Well, some privacy, of course. I believe every human deserves that courtesy of privacy. But when you're allowing them too much access to television and to technology, and you're allowing them to be able to dive into things for themselves, like this is another form of allowing your children to just raise themselves. You know, for the sake of this video even and what I'm talking about, I'm going to have to go in a second and get to my children, because they're well-behaved children, but all children are children. They're prone to do children stuff, and not to say nothing super bad, but, might be jumping on the table or something. You never know. But it's a blessing to be here today, to be able to know that my children are with me, every day. I desire to go out and work and have a wife here, and till then I got to drop my children off at a sister or mom or just whatever, but however I got to do it, I got to do what I got to do. But just around the topic and the subject matter, we got to raise our own children. It says raise your own children. That's what I wrote. Raise your own children. We allow too many babysitters, some people just giving their children up to foster homes, foster care, for them to abuse your children, and then they grow up in this system messed up, and they get thrown out at 18, and now they out here being prostitutes or doing crack or something because they've been so abused and hurt. It's wicked out here. It's wicked out here. And children need love. They need nurturement. They need care. That's what I was saying in the last video about we need helpmeets. When you don't have that nurturement, just especially girls need nurturement. They need to feel that love from a mother, just that love. And once you got the tough go-getter, I need to go out into the world and get and get the things of this world and get the things of this life. And even if you could work part-time and spend more time with your children, this is besides sending them to school, whatever. I mean, just spending more time with your children. This is a time game. I get this much time with my children, but the world gets this much time with my children. Between school and daycare and programs and other babysitters and just TV and entertainment and technology, and you got this big chunk that is taking up the discipline time, the teaching time, the learning things time, and then you got this little slither of time with you. And you probably not even teaching them nothing good. You got to raise your own children. And if we don't raise our children moving forward, this society is going down the drain. And that's what we see. You wonder why this society is going down the drain? Because we pushed men away. And we call masculinity toxic. And there's an attack on men today. I don't mean just men like grown boys, with they're men, they look like men, but they're boys in the mind. Or I'm not talking about effeminate men, meaning men that are geared and wired as women are emotionally and in their decision making. I mean men. I mean masculine men. I mean mighty men. There's an attack on masculine men. There's an attack on masculinity right now in this country. War has been waged in the spirit on masculine men. And they're trying to push us out of the homes. They're trying to push us away from our children. And this is spiritual forces. This is not people. Push us away from our children, push us out of the homes, push us out of society. And if they can put out any narrative to try to shame us for being a man in any sort of term and terminology, like for instance, and this, I'm gonna say this before I go, there are women that will call me a misogynist because I believe that women should be raising children. Women and men should raise children together, of course. But I believe women should be taking care of the children. I believe that. But what if they gotta work? Yeah, they gotta work. But you should be taking care of your children and not letting everybody else do it. Just like men, they supposed to be leading their children. How many men do we have leading, not even just the children, they families? But when you see children and they're not leading the family, meaning the man should be leading the woman as well. I believe in that. I believe the man should be leading the whole family, including the woman. But he has to have that type of mindset. He has to have that type of drive to even lead a family. Because the way that it is now, men are just tired of women in general, and it's exhausting, and it's a total drain to be with a certain woman. How are we gonna raise our children in these split up households? How? Look at me right now. Somebody's supposed to be in there right now with them doing stuff like making dinner, but instead I'm making this video because I moved to make this video, and then I gotta go in there and make dinner and do this and that. I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you, none of this is normal. Dinner should be made. When I go in, we should come in as a family. I should be doing my work and somebody should be home with them, taking care of them. But instead, I gotta send my children somewhere else. This ain't normal. This is why I teach my children a certain way, and I want to have be a certain example, and have a certain example. That's why I'm on semen retention right now, because I desire to attract a wife, and of course I don't do this just for a wife, but I want to wait to marriage. I want to be intentional with my seed because I desire to have more children. I desire to raise as much light in this world as possible to combat the darkness, because God told me to be fruitful and multiply. And it's about being intentional about who I'm multiplying with. Like I said, all these topics tie together, but the next topic, I don't want to make this a series like in order or nothing, but just for the sake of what's happening in the state of the world right now, I'm moved to speak about these matters before I go into the next controversial stuff that might get a lot of people to hate me. But regardless, I don't care anymore. I lost care about what anybody thinks. I'm going to be wise. I want to have the fruits of the Spirit. I want to be kind. I want to be Christ-like. But somebody has to speak about the stuff that men are afraid to speak of. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know anybody from my city that's talking like this right now. That's openly talking in this way right now. I don't know nobody from my city that's doing this. And maybe there is, and maybe there's people that's thinking it, but who's saying it? And not just who's saying these things, who's walking in it. So I'm still growing. I ain't perfect. I ain't this, I ain't that, I ain't all that in a bag of chips. I'm really not. I'm just a human, just like you. But I'm somebody that's been tired of the status quo. I'm tired of narratives. I'm tired of seeing the results of certain issues that I've noticed, and I'm tired of people calling me a conspiracy theorist because I actually research and look at facts that you can actually Google, since y'all trust Google so much, that you can actually Google or that you can look up in a book, especially the brown community. There's actually a saying that says, it's sad, it says this, listen to this. You know how to hide something from a black person? Put it in a book. That's what's said to us. And ever since I heard that, I'm like, yo, man, I got to get into some more books because you ain't going to hide nothing from me. We waking up, we figuring out the truth. We learning who we are. Nuclear family structure wasn't destroyed until you split us up. But that's another talk. I got lots of stuff to talk about. And this is the next revampment, like I said, of porch therapy sessions. And that last stuff was something, but I just need to get more out. And this is therapy for me, because it's me getting this stuff off my chest. But once again, we got to teach our children what's right and what's wrong, but we have to be that example and what's right. And if we're not the proper example as parents on what not to do and what to do, then how are we gonna hypocritically teach our children what not to do when they're watching us do the things that we're telling them not to do? That don't make no sense. We gotta raise our children, but we gotta walk in that example that we're trying to raise them in. We gotta walk in that standard. If we're holding our children to a standard, we have to be that standard. And best believe, if you are that standard teaching your children this standard, your children are going to go above that standard. But the problem is that parents don't want their children to be better than them. And that's another problem. That's another issue that we're going to have to talk about. Regardless, you're going to have to raise your own children and not let everybody else raise them. And watch what happens. Raise them. And trust in the Most High that He will lead you and guide you into raising them. And watch what happens. And you know what? Your children are going to grow up and thank you. Best believe. You will be a blessing to them, but watch how it turns around. They will be a blessing to you. Where you can send your children somewhere and not have to, like, when your children behave a certain way, people are reluctant to babysit your children. You wanna know why people would take my children over most children any days? Because they well behaved and they're obedient. They might do stuff because they're children, like any child. They're not these perfect beings, but they're obedient and they're well behaved. It's because God has put me in a position to be able to raise up my own children. And now you get to see the results of children raised by a father, a true man. And there's so many of us rising up now. So I just hope you see it. The sun's going down. And I gotta make dinner. Been out here long enough, but I thank you for watching this video. If you rock with the content, visit my website at www.timmyleeglean.net. And if you want to share this with somebody, share, like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you're felt or moved or led to do. You know, it's your decision to make. And some people have short attention spans, but if you watched all the way to the end because you have a longer attention span and can take in information like this in this way, then I know that you are meant to watch these videos. This ain't for everybody. This ain't for the light at heart. This ain't for the sensitive. This ain't for the lukewarm Christians. This ain't for the lukewarm. This ain't for the halfway walking with God. This ain't for those that haven't counted the cost and walked this life. This is deeper than me getting on this porch and talking about specific topics. The ultimate thing that I'm doing right now and just in my life is being an ambassador of Christ. So I never want you to, for once, get the idea that I'm coming out here by the flesh, just speaking fleshly stuff to y'all. No, these are issues in this society that I'm speaking about, that I'm just getting off my chest. Ultimately, my number one thing is to live for the Most High and give Him glory. So I just want you to know that with the love of Christ that I have in me, I want to share with you. And this is what I'm doing. You know, I can share the gospel with you each and every video. I could share the ways of God, the word of God with you each and every video. But I want to speak to you also in a humanistic way, in a way where you can receive, even if you don't believe in what I believe. And this ain't me compromising my faith for those that are religious. This is me in my faith speaking about things that need to be spoken about, because we have a lack of men standing up. We have a lot of men thinking these things but not standing up, and it's time for us to stand up and lead our families. And then we'll continue off with the next topic, but God bless. Woo!